Alright, today we're going to learn about percent composition. So we're going to learn how to figure out percentages of elements in compounds. So if I have glucose, what percentage would be carbon, what would be hydrogen, and what would be the percentage of oxygen. So a percent composition is basically just the percentage of each element in a compound. And how you would do that is the same way that you would calculate any percentage. Part divided by the whole times 100. So if we're talking about a mass percentage, we would need the mass of the element, and that would be actually the total mass of that element divided by the molar mass of the compound. And take the whole thing and multiply it by 100 because it is a percentage. So let's go ahead and just do an example. Alright, so find the percent composition of copper 1 sulfide. And I did forget to mention you need a periodic table and a calculator just like you've needed pretty much the whole unit. So find the percent composition of copper 1 sulfide. So the first thing I have to do is come up with the formula. So copper 1, it's a +1 charge, sulfur is -2 charge. I got that from the periodic table, the sulfur part. Copper is +1 because it tells me right there. So it's going to be Cu2S. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the molar mass of this compound. So sulfur has a mass of 32.07. I found that in the periodic table. There's one of them, so the entire mass of sulfur would be 32.07. Then copper's mass would be 63.55, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so that's 63.55, and there are two of those, so I'm going to go ahead and plug that in the calculator. Okay, so that's 63.55 times 2. It's 127.1. Let's add those together. Plus 32.07 gives me 159.17 grams per mole. Okay, so that's the entire mass of this compound right here. Alright, so we want to find the percent composition. So we need to find the percentage of copper and then find the percentage of sulfur. So I'm going to basically just plug it into my formula. I'm going to take the mass of each element and divide it by the total mass of the compound. So I'm not going to take, to find copper, I'm not going to do 63.55 divided by some number. I'm going to do 127 because it's the total mass of the compound. So copper is 127.1, which is why I wrote all this stuff down to refer back to, divided by the total mass of the compound times 100. Let's go ahead and figure that out. And so it's 127.1 divided by 159.17. Okay, and then multiply it by 100. So it's 79.85%. Okay, do not take 100 and then subtract this to get the other percentage. Okay, because when we're in a lab, it's not going to be able to work out that way. So don't get in that habit. It's a bad habit to have. So let's go ahead and figure out the percentage of sulfur. So sulfur is 32.07. There was only one, so it's just that. And divide it by the entire mass of the compound, 159.17. Multiply it by 100. So 32.07 divided by 159.17 times 100 gives me 20.15. Okay, so that's sulfur, and that's copper. So that's my percent composition. It's 79.85% copper and then 20.15% sulfur. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's do find the percent of calcium and calcium phosphate. So the first thing I'm going to do is come up with a formula. Calcium's plus 2. I got that out of the periodic table. Calcium's plus 2. Phosphate, it ends in 8, so you know it's a polyatomic. And that's the formula. So when I put it together, it should be Ca3PO4 2. Alright, so find the percent of calcium and calcium phosphate. So let's go ahead and find the molar mass first. So calcium, let's look that up. I think it's about 40. Yeah. That's 40.08 times 3. So it's 3 times 40. So for calcium, it's 120.24. Alright, so let's do phosphorus. Phosphorus, how many phosphorus atoms do you think there are right there? If I'm looking at it, there is no number by it. So that implies that there's 1, but it's in a parenthesis, so I'm going to multiply it by 2. So there really are 2 phosphorus atoms, and each phosphorus is 30.97. So 2 times 30.97, 61.94. Okay, so let's do oxygen. Oxygen is in parentheses, so I have to multiply the numbers. It's 2 times 4, which is 8. Do not add these two together and get 6, because there's not 6 oxygen atoms, there's 8. Okay, so oxygen's mass is 16. So it's 8 times 16.00, 128. Okay, so we're going to add these together to get the molar mass of the entire thing. So you should get 310.18 grams per mole. Okay, so that gives me the entire mass of that compound. It's asking for the percentage of calcium though. So let's find calcium's entire mass. It's 120. Do not put 40. Okay, there are 3 atoms here, so the entire mass, the total mass is this for calcium. So for the molar mass of the compound, you should have gotten that. And multiply it by 100. So that's going to give me 120.24 divided by 310.18 times 100 gives me 38.76%. Alright, so I got that one. So this is pretty easy. It's just very simple math. But you'll also get questions like this, and you'll get questions like this in labs too. So how many grams of copper are there when you have 28 grams of copper 1 sulfide? Okay, so what this is saying is that in my hand, I have 28 grams of the compound. So copper 1 sulfide is Cu2S, okay? I have a total of 28 grams, okay? It's asking, of this 28 grams, how much of it is copper? So of this 28 grams, how much is copper? So you know it should be less than 28 because the total mass that you have is 28 grams. So you need to know of that 28 grams, how much of it is copper. So if you find the percentage, you can figure out how much copper you have. Okay, so once I find the percentage of that element, I'm going to find how much of the 28 grams is copper. So I am going to multiply that number by the percentage as a decimal. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, we don't really have to go back and do all that work again because I used something that we already calculated percentage. So copper to 1 sulfide, the percentage of copper is 79.85%. We already figured this out, okay? So it's 79.85%, and that's because we figured it out already. So we know that 79.85% of that 28 grams has to be copper. So then all we're going to do is just figure out what is 79.85% of that 28 grams. So I'm going to take my 28 grams and I'm going to multiply it by my percentage. If you were to take this in the calculator and plug that into the calculator as 79.85 times 28, you would get a number much bigger than 28. In your head, if you do that, you should think, I can't have more than 28 grams. I have to multiply it as a decimal. So it's 0.7985 as a decimal. And that'll tell me how many grams of the 28 are copper. So write that down too. Okay, so 28 times 0.7985. 22.36. So of the 28 grams, 22.36 grams are copper. The rest of it should be sulfur. All right, so that's it for this. We'll see you in class.